Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Star Wars CCG World Championship Day 2. This is Game 1. The matchup is Chris Kelly against Joe Olson. Chris Kelly being the dark side player here. Alright, so we've got the new Hunt Down virtual objective from Chris, with what's turning into the pretty standard start of security precautions. I would assume. Let's see, there's message, there's security precautions. I am your father virtual, and then there are many hunting you now, part of the new Inquisitors theme. There's been a lot of discussion around this card. It's interesting because some people feel you should always lose the Force. Other people go swing the exact opposite way. Hayes Hunter, for example, tells me that he pretty much always lets them go ahead and do it instead of losing Force. Let's see, and then from Joe we have Watch Your Step. So he's got squadron assignments, walkling, and then I must be allowed to speak. So there will be some used pile pulls afoot. Alright, looks like they are going to get rolling here. Now, for the non-virtual hunt down, the match against Watch Your Step was particularly rough because you activated so little that it can just be very, very difficult to stay in that game. Hunt down virtual has a little more protection because of Mustafar saying that and it's not Mustafar itself, rather, but its force generation is immune to certain limits from Visage of the Emperor, and so it gets to keep its 2 force there, and so it's not nearly so limited, and then putting security precautions here, so he is going to have force to get started. It does mean if he relies on multiple Twixes, Twixes being 2 dark side, no light side icon sites for the dark player, and then vice versa for the light player, he's still not going to get as much, so we'll probably see the Blockade Flagship Bridge come out at some point, and that'll only be giving him 1 icon instead of 2, but that's the only real impact he will feel from the flip side of Watch Your Step. Now, I know per the stats from the Marvelous Echo-Based Trooper that Hunt Down Virtual was 2-7 against Watch Your Step last Saturday, so on day 1. I actually was playing Hunt Down and lost to Watch Your Step. So we'll see how this goes. He whips out the Malachor sight. The things you're going to see here in this match are Chris Kelly's probably going to play it fast, try and establish pressure, get early drains in. Joe's going to want to make sure that he's paying for those drains of battle order and then be mitigating them as much as possible so he's not actually losing that many cards. Typically, if the board situation is able to stabilize for Watch Your Step and they're able to keep a ground presence and not eat a bunch of drains of 3 early, the game is going to go towards Watch Your Step, but Hunt Down does have just the really early chance to try and establish some tempo and try and get some cards top decked from Joe here. So we'll see. Chris Kelly busts out Vader to the Mustafar site. That's one of the nice things about the virtual Hunt Down with starting that site is that you do get Vader every game with a saber if you want it. The fact there's no saber implies a couple things. Let's see. He could be afraid of Avergence. Probably not from Watch Your Step, though. Most likely it just means he activated it and so isn't able to pull it out. All right. So he ends his turn, he loses no force to the Visage because he's got Vader and his objective is flipped. So now it's up to Joe. We'll see how he responds. He'll dig out Corellia or Kessel. Hopefully he didn't activate both of them. That does occasionally happen, especially when you just have Kessel. But with the new Corellia being such a good system for Watch Your Step, that is far less likely to occur. So he's probably, so he'll get Corellia. He's also going to know what Lukes are in his force pile, what ability will he have to flip Chris back, because he obviously would like to keep him flipped back so he can be doing things like draining 3 at Kessel. Any other key cards in the match that he's looking for, he's going to see those are in his force pile. He's probably got some tunnel visions. He's got used pile pulls. Watch Your Step has lots of ways to find the cards that it needs. So imagine we'll see a ship come out here. Yep. All right, there goes Han Solo. And it's new Corellia. I mean, that's really cheap. Like Han of the Falcons is going to cost 3 force to go down there. And now we'll see if he actually goes for the turn 1 flip. He has some kind of evasion. He may go ahead and do that for the choke factor. Otherwise, if he just wants the force pile, he'll just draw. Alright, he's also got Kira on the Falcon, which is good, kind of playing it safe there. Because Hunt Down doesn't have a ton of space. It could have Mara's ship, and it will definitely have the Emperor's personal shuttle. And if it does get the Emperor, especially with Tarkin, drawing multiple destinies and being completely immune to attrition, that can be a way for it to mess with the light side plans. So it looks like Joe was content here to just get out some board presence and then draw. And especially without the saber, he's probably not overly worried about that drain of 2. I think he's pretty happy if Chris Kelly just pays 3 to drain 2 here. So moves up to Tatooine, and he's going to draw some cards. I'll probably stop with one there. We'll see, but you never know. It's early. If he really wants that one, yep. All right, he's just going to go for it. It is mildly interesting. So he'll lose something to the Visage here. So Hunt Down does play First Strike, but they usually play an Imperial theme with Imperial Enforcements, which would prevent any sort of particular shenanigans, like Zuckuss and Mist Hunter or things like that. But those are technically legal plays. There's no reason he couldn't play it. All right, so Joe goes ahead and, yeah, Chris pays 3 to drain. Joe cancels it with the Control Tunnel Vision. That only saves him really 1 card, but it's still, with this being Watch Your Step, when he's flipped, he'll be able to play it from Lost Battle. Oh, interesting. All right, so Chris Kelly's going to go ahead and grab it, which is an interesting play, I think. It is solid in the sense that it means he's not going to have that control cancel another drain from the Lost pile, which is good for him. Make sure he will be able to drain. But it means he's not able to grab other cards like It's a Hit, or it could be worse. He may rely on Min Kenobi to place It's a Hit out of play. And a lot of decks don't actually play those mitigation. It's interesting. We've seen some more battle-oriented Watch Your Steps with like the Admiral's Orders, No Questions Asked, and things of that nature. So it's possible Joe isn't even running those cards. But it is an interesting grab nonetheless to grab that Control Tunnel out early. All right, so he pulls the Saber, which confirms our theory that, yes, indeed, turn 1, no Saber was to be found. So we got Vader's Lightsaber on the Enforcer, so now he will be draining for 3, and he grabbed the Control Tunnel, so Joe's probably not going to block that drain too many times, so that will be some damage through. And then he's just going to draw some cards. As is common these days, he's just going to draw over 12. He doesn't fear the Grimtash from Joe, doesn't think he's playing Watch Your Step. And so you need what you need, and you draw till you find it. And then also with Point Man, he may duck back under 12 here. Almost certainly, I think he'll probably save these 4s here. He gets the one that he wants the most. The Force Pile saves a couple others, so that's a solid place to be. He'll have a large hand with a decent amount of force. And then he will not lose to the Visage because he is still flipped. And now we see how Joe responds. So Joe's side, he'll definitely go for the flip here. The question is he going to go for a sight, or does he go for... Yeah. Oh, wow, Chris Kelly also drew all the way up. I mean, not like you usually bluff barriers anyway. So it's probably a pretty safe thing to do. Vader against Watch Your Step like this, pretty much untouchable. There's really no reason to go after him at this stage in the game. And it'd be very, very risky to do so. You'd be losing the Force with Lightsaber, there could be Sniper Dark Strike, all that sort of stuff. So Joe's going to flash the Pulsar Skate here. And we'll see if he connects. We're not seeing a verify, so probably means he worked and that Mirrex Tariff was in the reserve deck. That would be a bit of a bummer if he had activated it, but he did not. So there goes Pulsar Skate. Those Mirrex checks. All right, so that will flip his objective, which also gives him +1 activation at each of those systems. And I bet what we'll see then is Kessel come out here pretty quick. Possibly not this turn, but pretty soon. We'll see Kessel come out. We'll see Han get over there. As soon as the Lost Pile is big enough, we'll start with the Kessel Run. There we go. All right, 3 Force. Yep, there's the Kessel Run. And that's a pretty solid position for Joe here. Now remember, because of the flipped hunt down, Kessel is only a drain of 2. It's not a drain of 3, so it's not quite as cool, but it's still a solid drain, worth paying for. There's the Kessel Run, so he's going to draw Destiny until he draws about 12, stack him on the Kessel Run, and then once he completes the Kessel Run, a few things happen. One is he will retrieve 4 Force, and the other is he has multiple characters whose game text triggers off it. In particular, Han Solo. Yes, that was intentional. So he helps complete the Kessel Run faster, but more importantly is the last line that when the Kessel Run is complete, he's piloting the Falcon, opponent generates no force there, which means he can stack up Kessel and have it as a drain 2 system, or 3 if he flips him back. But Chris Kelly's getting no force, so that'll help turn the choke back on. So that'll be good. All right, he had a stack. Lomi, Wedge, Theron, Hujix, out of nowhere, and I'll take the leader. So that was kind of a worst case scenario. I mean, 5 cards, like, that's not ideal. It'll take him a while to finish that Kessel Run, but still, especially with Han being there, it'll take 2 turns, because he'll get to start pulling those off immediately. So during each move phase, which means both his and Chris's. Probably also means he has some manner of punch it or moving to attack position, something to keep the immunity to attrition on the Falcon, so he can't get totally cleared off, which would make it take longer to collect. All right. Yep. So here we go. So Mirax moves up to Tatooine, and Han moves up to Kessel. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is just Tatooine's a better system because there may be Celebration in Joe's deck. There's definitely going to be you could play smugglers like Lando. You could want to put ships down, take them off. You could have I'll take the leader. You could have it's a hit. There's a number of reasons that being on Tatooine is good. Also, Emperor's personal shuttle can't draw multiple destinies at Tatooine. You can only draw one, so it's actually a safer system for Joe than Corellia. And then the last thing is because of the deploy reduction at Corellia, Joe would be able to drop in with, say, Dash Rendar in the Outrider and another smuggler very cheap there. So if Chris were to go to that system, he does have the ability to respond very effectively for very few cards. All right, so yeah, so Joe went ahead, stacked all his destinies, moved Pulsar Skate up. He put Wedge Antilles into the used pile during the move phase from the Kessel Run. And Secret Plans came out from Chris. And Joe lost Control Tunnel Vision to the Hujix, which is good for him because he can, except he won't be able to do it this one, but he will eventually be able to play that from the Lost, which is kind of nice. And because it's been grabbed on Allegations, it will automatically go there, I think. All right, so we lost Lebo, Luke's Lightsaber, and Blaster Deflection. All right, those are kind of good cards. Those are actually really good cards. So Luke's Lightsaber, he don't know if he runs 2. That's a card you want in this matchup. You want that on Luke. You want Luke to be dangerous. All right, there's something special planned for them. So Chris Kelly does now have another grabber, so that's good. So he'll have the ability to catch up with Joe here and grab something that needs to be grabbed. Let's see. Lebo is also kind of a bad loss here because Lebo does really useful things when a Kessel Run is complete. He actually pings for 1 damage during the control phase. So he's also a card you would like to have here because that would definitely be effective. All right, let's see. So Chris Kelly is going for the bridge. Oh, but he activated it. So he may have had some trouble finding the site. Again, it's not a ton of activation, but the bigger deal is just making sure you don't blind draw 0 during battle. So at least for this turn, that objective is achieved, but he'd much rather have it on the table. All right, so from Chris, what we'll see here is just draining for 3 with Vader is obviously not going to be enough, so he needs to start getting onto more sites. All right, there's a Dark Jedi Lightsaber. He didn't pull that, so he probably had that in his opening hand. He's going to go ahead and take over the Cantina, which is a drain of 3. Makes sense. It'd be interesting to see if Vader stays over on Malachor. I'd kind of like Vader at the farm at this point. Just being on Tatooine and not being out of the picture. Because he's not really doing a ton for you there other than keeping you flipped and draining for 3, which those are good things, but a lot of those drains of 3 aren't going to land. Wouldn't surprise me if the next one just gets control tunneled for a couple force from Joe. All right, so Seventh Sister lets you use force to draw a card in hand from reserve deck. So he does that, and then Joe responds by using the Aristaric to draw his own card off the top of reserve deck. So they can both really get some good filtering going here. All right, Joe's going to go ahead and place a coaxium card in use pile during the move phase. Oh, it's interesting. So this is an automatic action, which on Gem means it's going to automatically be enforced. But even in a real life tournament, that would mean it's not an optional action. The player can forget. It's a mandatory action, which means that if you forgot and you go to a draw phase or something, then you should go back and fix it. You shouldn't just be like, well, you missed the phase, so you're done. So that's a nifty choice. All right, so Joe's got 16 force here. He'll probably drain at Kessel, but I doubt he'll drain at Tatooine. He's got 7 cards in hand, 16 card force pile. So we'll see how good Joe's hand is. If he likes his hand, then he'll go ahead and pay to drain and do stuff. If he doesn't like his hand, he probably tunnel visions here from the lost pile for 2 to go tutor something up and try and get some better options. He wants to drain 3, and then probably you'll end up seeing a smuggler, a couple smugglers, maybe 3 smugglers, go to either the farm or the docking bay. If he has a Luke, he'd probably go ahead and go Luke with a couple of buddies. Yeah, so he's going to pay. All right, there's the force drain. Yeah, he'd really like to get flipped and be draining free. As long as he can maintain a ground presence and drain free here, he's in a really good spot. Also, that would, by going to his site, there'd be a 3rd battleground, which enables him to play the ultimatum shield and cap those drains to 2 if he even does have to take them. All right, so there goes Darth Vader's lightsaber. Interesting. So Chris Kelly was playing both. That's kind of nifty. And the Emperor's personal shuttle. So that's something for Joe to be happy to see. Hit the lost pile. Now, it is kind of interesting. Yeah, so Joe mentioned this in the commentary. Oh, I guess you can't see that because my face is there, because you got to see my face than what they're saying. But Joe brings up that he wasn't going to pay 3 to drain 1, but no escape is a card, and I have the same instinct. If you don't want him to have the shuttle, then you kind of want to bury the shuttle. And so spending 3 would do that. So, oh, yep. So Joe goes ahead and does that. So he drains 3 more just because that was Emperor's shuttle. It's an interesting dynamic. Another thing, let's see. Chris Kelly has 2 force, which does bluff, at least bluffs that you are beaten. So with 9 force, Joe's probably not going to attack the 7th sister. Otherwise, that would have been if he only has 1 there, you might go ahead and go for that. Especially if you have a dodge or something to make sure the saber doesn't hit, and just go into a couple of smugglers and bust up the cantina. But we'll see. I kind of think what we'll see from Joe here is probably just a Luke to flip, and then probably rely on evasion in his hand. So, and by flip I mean to flip Chris Kelly back, obviously not flip his own objective. All right, so we'll see what's going to happen here. Both players still have plenty of time. They're not wasting a lot in the early stages of the game here, which is nice. So it's the first time I think we've had to really need to pause. Yep, there we go. There's the Luke. All right, so that flips Chris back. So that does a couple of things. 3 battlegrounds for ultimatum. He gets another icon for that being Luke. Luke is kind of hard to attack into with his 7 defense value, full immunity to attrition, and the ability to redraw destiny. Now, Hunt Down Virtual is probably one of the decks that has the least impact from that redraw because it's so consistent. I mean, over half the deck is effectively Destiny 4+, and so it just tends to draw 4s and 5s for everything. So that's pretty normal. So Luke goes down. Also, he'll get to use I must be allowed to speak here to grab a card from the used pile, which will be very helpful for him in stabilizing his board state. You would assume he probably has, he could have it to trap, but Dodge and Rebel Barrier are also commonly played evasion cards and Watch Your Step. He's probably got something like that. 4 force left. You don't really want to put just like 1 friend because again, if you are beaten, it's really bad. So we'll see what he comes up with here. But with a 13 card use pile search, I mean, he's going to have good options. So this is going to be the chance for Chris Kelly to try and maintain some semblance of tempo right here on this turn coming up for him. All right. I would love to know what's in his use pile right now, but it's commentary. All right, nothing in the chat. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the view. I hope I'm not boring you. Hopefully I'm talking loud enough. I'm trying not to wake up my girls who are sleeping in the next room. But if I do need to talk a bit louder, please do just comment in the chat and let me know. All right, we got evacuation control. All right, so this is a solid play here. This could actually be kind of rough for Chris, because Vader's on table to lightsaber, and the Dark Jedi lightsaber is already on table, which means at most Chris Kelly might have Mara Jade with lightsaber, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons to go after Luke with at the moment. And with evacuation control, that negates one of the strengths of Chris's deck of being able to add Destiny at will by stacking a hatred card from their mini hunting you now, and then playing Far More Frightening Than Death, the Lost Interrupt, to add Destiny. So evacuation control gives Joe a lot of say in the match. Now, Dash Rendar is stacked on evacuation control along with Chewbacca and Clash of Sabers, so that is a little interesting. Clash of Sabers, well, we saw a saber go into Lost Pile, so we don't know if he can even play it, if he has a second saber or not. I guess not. But Dash Rendar is interesting, because Watch Your Step these days tends to play 3 to 4 ships. Wild card may be in, may not be in, and then you got the Pulsar Skate, the Falcon, and the Outrider, the Classic 3. But with Dash Rendar on there, in order to get him, there's going to have to actually be a fight. Which you could see here, Chris, if he has another Emperor Shuttle in hand, he might actually be inclined to go ahead and drop down to Corellia on this upcoming turn and not fight, because then he also is draining free, and so he's able to better start rolling some damage through. Yeah, so we'll see here. All right, so yeah, Joe decided to save 2. He took another card off the Kessel run, so Kessel is down to 2 cards. And so during the move phase, assuming that no shenanigans happen at Kessel. Oh, and there's ultimatum from Joe to limit the drains to 2. So if we get to Chris Kelly's move phase, so one of those 2 cards will automatically go to the use pile, one of the coaxium cards, and then Han Solo is going to be able to take it in hand, but optionally, which means he can wait until he has the 4 force to pay for secret plans. So he's not going to be forced to just lose the Kessel run. Now, if he got to lose his move phase, it would be an automatic action at the end of the move phase. But yeah, so see Chris here, knowing the saber is there, he probably wants to bury that saber, and you probably want to pay to drain anyways. You pretty much have to do damage whenever you can, so we'll probably see him spend 3 with Vader. It's likely that Joe would not control either of these from the Lost Pile. Oh, interesting. All right, so Chris Kelly's going to skip the drain, so that is interesting. So he's going to pass on the chance to do 4 damage, so that means he's going for board state. So he's going to no escape back in Inquisitor. And then what you might see here is first strike to retrieve that shuttle. He may be trying to get it back. All right, Blast Door controls, hits the table, so no barrier. 14 card force pile, the Chris wants to fight. He doesn't care about the drains. So things about to get rowdy. All right, we got the 5th brother coming down, 7 power, and defense value 3 against Luke. And forfeit values there may not be increased, which is kind of nifty. There's no smugglers there, but that can be used to negate it. Ooh, Kirkanos, now that's nifty. All right, so that means 1 evasion card can be automatically canceled by Kirkanos. So Luke is not likely to be able to escape this fight. It's not indoor, he can't blast door controls, plus there's, blast the door kid, but blast door controls anyway. So the only options he would really have are dodge. Doesn't have force for it to trap. Ooh, Aura Singh, this is going to be fun. Let's get rowdy. Oh, and Hujix out of nowhere was stacked. And still is. So he can't get it till the move phase. He probably doesn't run 2 Hujixes. That would be a strange play. So Luke may be about to take it on the chin here if that shot from R lands. And again, as I mentioned earlier, typically down V tends to draw 4 pluses for its destinies. So even with the redraw from Luke, there's reasonable odds here that he draws 2 4s, or draws the equivalent of 3 4s in a row, and actually lands the blow. All right, and there's the first strike that you expect. So the shuttle's coming back. Let's see. Yeah, and just Cure Kanos. Like, there's just... That just stops so many interrupts. It's a trap which Joe can't afford. Is the only one that would have been able to block that. So it's looking like the 3 force to bury the shuttle may have ended up being a real problem here. So we'll see. Should get a rumble going on pretty quick. 3 force, not much left to deploy. So now we're just waiting for the fight. All right, so there's first strike. So if you're Joe and you only have 1 dodge, you probably don't burn it trying to run away right here. Not much of a reason to do so. All right, so now he's got, all right, Chris Kelly, first thing he's gonna do, he's gonna stack a hatred card. Oh yeah, which cancels Luke's game text. And I could see the incentive from Joe to not want to pay for that, not lose a force, but at the same time, that if that redraw is what keeps Luke alive, you kind of have to do it. So yeah, he's gonna go for it. He's got to go. Yeah, because Joe's in a bit of a rough spot here if he has to peel a bunch of cards to battle damage, because he's got 3 stacked on evac and 2 on the Kessel run. So if he ends up having to peel, could be as many as 10 cards here, that would be really bad. He really needs Luke to not get hit. Now we might see, let's see, oh, so there's a Blaster Deflection in the Lost Pile, so he can Blaster Deflect. He potentially has Dodge and Blaster Deflection. He has a Dodge in his hand, so he can get one of them past Cure Kanos and keep Luke from getting hit, at which point he's basically down 5, because Luke's going to cover forfeit 8, and, oh, 1, an Emperor. Do we see a Sith Fury? That would be huge, because that means he's definitely not getting hit. All right, so that was definitely fortunate for Joe right there, and unfortunate for Chris. So Chris is still up. So he's up 16-5, but his total battle destiny is going to be +2 from his objective. So your total battle destiny is +1, +2 for the hatred card, and your Inquisitor. So he's effectively at 18-5. So that's 5 more than Luke's forfeit. Because Luke's power plus his forfeit is 13. So at the moment he's in position to do around 5 overflow. Yeah, so Joe grabs Chewbacca off evac, and Chewbacca is big power, brings a used pile search. Let's see, the Ninth Sister is 2. All right, so that's good. Evac blocks the Ninth Sister, turns it from a 4 to a 2. Joe draws a 4, so it'll be 9 to 20. All right, so that means Joe's going to be looking at, he's not going to peel 12 to keep, or 11 to keep Luke on the table. So it'd be Luke and 3. But as far as things could have gone, that was very fortuitous for Joe. Also, the part where he didn't Blaster Deflect means he probably didn't have a dodge in hand in the first place. Because otherwise you definitely... Oh, well, first strike he couldn't have done both. So yeah, there was no reason. He just had to hope. Yeah, first strike just changes the math. And 7:45 in the morning, Phil doesn't do great math. Okay. So now Joe's going to have to pick the order here. This is interesting because he's got Kessel Run coming back after this. And he knows that. So basically he's just going to be losing 3 cards and retrieving them next turn. So he's deciding, does he want Luke on the top of that stack or on the bottom of that stack? That is all he has to really decide. when Chris has 37 cards, there's no way you can realistically just peel all of this. He has to lose Luke. All right, see, there goes Kyrkanos. It makes sense. You're going to have to see Kyrkanos go. As Joe, as Chris, you'd love to get him back, but that was a pretty good answer in terms of board state from Chris here. So by declining to Beta Drain, he didn't do 4 damage, but he's going to do, ooh, it could be worse for 2 from Joe. Didn't see that coming. So he reduces the force loss by 1 because of first strike. So he's still going to have to lose 3. And since once Luke goes Chris Kelly before back, that means the drain at Castle would only be a drain of 2. We'll see. Oh, there goes the it could be worse. All right, so now it could be worse is grabbed, and control tunnel is grabbed. And so now the question becomes, does Joe play it's a hit? Because if he does, Adrian on Tatooine is going to get canceled every turn for the rest of the game. All right, so Melas, Talon card, hit the lost pile, and then Luke. So now Chris is flipped back. He's on 3 sites. So he's got really good board control here. Well, board state, not really board control because he's not in space, but really good board state. Still with a 10-card hand, so he still has a large hand. Only 3 cards in the lost pile. So this is pretty good. If you're Chris, this is probably how you hope this game would go right now. Obviously, you do hope you land that overflow on Luke, but you kind of don't expect it. So this is overall pretty good. All right, so let's see. Joe's going to Kessel Run, put Theranet. All right, so now he'll actually get to take the Hujix into hand at any point on his turn that he desires. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't activate all of this. There's none of those dark side stacks you really want to attack into with 2 force saved from Chris. And You Are Beaten just kind of messes up the math in this sort of situation. All right, so yeah, Joe will activate it all. All 16. Oh, he's changed his mind. So the revert. Both Chris and Joe are very stand-up fellows. I can't see anyone complaining about a revert for changing your activation. So Joe wants to leave 2. So could mean a couple of things. Could mean he's tracking that destiny, and he wants to get it back in hand, or he could want to fight and draw 2 battle destiny. That's a possibility. But again, if you were beaten, it seems like it's likely to end bad if you try and attack somewhere. I mean, he could bring like 3 smugglers into 7th Sister, I suppose, would be an option. And hope he doesn't have You Are Beaten and Dark Strike. Or I think you may have some, you just dodge one of the swings and assume they won't actually hit, and then you go ahead and just do that fight. With Talon Card, if Talon Card was one of those, that wouldn't be awful, I suppose. But you know that Joe wants to spend 4 to retrieve 4 this turn. You may see him decline to drain. So I think what you'll see is Joe's going to take that Coax card, the retrieve 4. You'll then probably put down something like Chewie, Lando, and maybe somebody else to the docking bay to get 1 or 2 use pile searches to keep finding what he needs. He's probably going to dig for... it's a hit in this case because, again, it can't be grabbed. So as soon as he finds it's a hit, he can negate that Cantina Drain completely. And with Ultimatum, if he's on the 3rd battleground, Vader's not doing anything. So it'd be like Vader would be like pay 3 to drain 2. Aura and the 5th brother could pay 3 to drain 1. That drain at the farm is -1 because there's no Trooper or Vader there. All right, so yeah, so there's the Coax card. So now he's got the Hujix in hand, and he finished the Kessel Run, so he retreats 4. Now Chris Kelly doesn't get to activate any force from Kessel. So we retrieved Luke, Talon, Melas, and the Rebel Barrier, which is just a unit of force at this point because he can't play it because of Blast Door controls. Well, I mean, he technically can play it, but functionally he cannot play it. All right, so Joe goes ahead and drains, leaving him with 9 force to play with. So, all right, now that Kessel Run is done, now we can do a more accurate life force total count. So Joe's got 11, 20, 30 in hand and life, and Chris has 34. So Chris is up by 4 cards. In terms of damage, this is where that is, without it's a hit right now, Joe could eat 5 in drains and 1 to Visage every cycle, while only doing back 3 himself, which would put him in a disadvantaged position. But as soon as you throw an It's a Hit into the mix, all of a sudden it's 4 damage that Chris can do and 3 that Joe could do just from this state. Well, I guess no, technically 5, because Ultimate would limit Vader in that case. But you can see a control tunnel from the Lost, and it's a hit. So Chris Kelly, if he pays to drain the next turn, probably is doing no damage. All right, a Mirax draw, so Joe gets that last card in the reserve deck, which would be what his Battle Destiny was. Let's go back and just remind me what it was. Oh, a Luke. All right, so he has another Luke in hand. So yeah, so this is not a Imperial Enforcement version, which means he does have Aura, so he could still have a Mara or something. Yeah, this is interesting. First strike already caused trouble. Joe really wants to be on the site though, so we'll see. Let's see here. He might go for this with Luke. But all it takes is a couple Inquisitors. Probably make Luke get back off the table, so I don't think you really want to do that. Nope, he's going to go ahead and do it. Interesting. I didn't see a ping damage for Kira, but there should have been one. Let's see. Oh yeah, it was. Yep, it was right after the drain. So I missed that the first time around. So I mentioned earlier that there's a number of cards that trigger off Kessel Run being completed. So the way the timing worked out with Joe finishing Kessel Run there and then draining means that drain at Kessel was actually a drain of 3 because of Kira. So that actually equals the Visage damage. All right, so he goes ahead with and brings down Luke, and Chris Kelly goes ahead and picks up Vader. So, because yeah, he needs to get Vader involved on Tatooine. He's not going to be able to take all 3 Tatooine sites without Vader. So Joe had to be expecting that was a possibility, so he's got to have some kind of evasion and maybe be hoping it goes through. He also has Hujix now, and there's a lot of benefit in just making the hunt down player burn resources here. But still, it does enable some ping damage. So let's see. Chris goes ahead and draws something. All right, there's a dodge in the lost pile now, so we know that he has the ability to dodge, but both Get Combo and Lana Dobreed can prevent that, so it may not matter much. All right, there's the aim high that Joe didn't play earlier, which would make Chris have to pay for the retrieval, and now you see the choke start to have a bit of an impact here. So Chris Kelly picked up Vader, but he's only got 13 force to play with. All right, so he skips. He's not even going to bother paying to drain. He knows that the hit could cancel it, so he's going to go straight to playing Vader. He'll give him his saber and probably bring a friend. Yep, the 8th brother. Let's see, and the 8th brother, what he does. Deploy. Oh, he can move as a react. If there's hatred cards, and during move phase, he can bounce himself back to hand if he's survived. All right, so we'll see a hatred card here. Does Joe prevent the hatred card, or does he expect to lose Luke? interesting situation. You have to decide how much are you willing to pay to keep Luke on table. The options here are, if he doesn't, then Luke's guaranteed dying, because he'll have no immunity and all. I mean, there's certainly going to be a battle here that you wouldn't deploy in front of Luke and not battle. That really wouldn't make any sense. So he's going to battle. If he loses one to keep the game text, he's trying to keep the option open of Luke staying alive, and he's willing to lose a force to do that. But if Vader lands a swing, you die. The total battle destiny be +2, so it's 11 to 5. I mean, you're not going to peel like 8 cards to keep Luke on table. You'd probably peel 4 cards to keep Luke on table. But anything above 4, it starts to become just not worth it, just because you need to keep your life force, especially if you're going to have to pay to drain. So Joe taking a long time to think on this one. All right, and he's going to let it go. So he came to the conclusion that there was no reasonable way Luke was going to live, so it's better just go ahead and let him die than losing an extra force just because. And I think that's the right call. Luke's probably going to die here regardless. Even if he survives the swing, the odds are not good that you're going to be able to outdraw them significantly. You'll probably see him pull Dash Rendar off of evac control. He may wait and only do that if Chris Kelly battles. We'll see. All right. So Chris gets to retrieve one. Joe has to lose one. He'll swing. Joe's pondering here probably the fact that he could try and dodge and make Chris burn a react canceller on it, but that would be 2 force and the dodge is lost. So trying to decide if that's what he really wants to do. He's going to go for it. Oh, blaster deflection on the swing, actually. That's what he's going to go for. So he's trying to preserve his Hujix, is what that does for him. Because by keeping the forfeit, Luke's certainly going to cover any damage that's going to come through here. I mean, it would take something like Chris drawing a 5 and him drawing below a 3. So, yeah, because it's forfeit 8 and he's down 6. So, oh, there's Tarkin. He didn't evac control, so he saved that. He doesn't feel like he needs the guy in hand. And the Clash of Sabers is, again, probably useless. The only way that comes into play is like Obi-Wan Kenobi swaps to get it. You have Luke and just, it seems unlikely with 19 or so life force that you're going to be in a situation to actually do that. All right. So, yep, they draw the same for Destiny, which means he's down 6, so he'll lose Luke. And now Vader's on Tatooine. Now that into hand is once per game. So, see what Joe's going to come back with. Chris, 2 force. He'll probably just keep that 2 force. I think he's probably got to be fairly happy with what's in his hand. And again, as long as you can threaten you are beaten, it's really hard to attack into a stack and clear guys. So I don't think we'll see that. All right, some more options now for let's see, for Joe, what's your response? Chris Kelly's not drawing anything. He declined to draw, then Joe Mirax. He's probably just going to decline to draw again. Yep, and then lose him to the Visage. All right. So Chris Kelly is still at 34 in hand and life. Joe is at 27, so he's down 7. And doesn't want to just pay to drain it out. Yeah, you drain 2 at Kessel, and again, that's actually 3 damage because Kira, so she is a required response. So that's 3, so you definitely pay for that, but you probably don't pay for Mirax's drain. There goes Lana Dobreed. All right, that's interesting. So that's a react canceller. It's going to be buried. And there goes a Mara Jade with Saber. All right, so Joe's really happy to see both of those cards. Chris, conversely, is not happy to see those cards gone. Looks like the Lana Dobry was from hand, not off reserve. Oh, that's fascinating. So that means he probably has another one because he knows Dodge is in the lost pile. And he's not going to want to be able to just play that and run around on the ground. Especially with the firepower shield being blanked. One of the worst scenarios you can be in this case, as the dark player, is if the light side player can just play a random smuggler to the ground and then just dodge him repeatedly. Like, dodge, goes to lost pile, dodge from the lost pile. First strike helps a little bit, but still, if that's like how he was getting free drains, like that's not an ideal situation. All right, so Joe does the Outrider search, but that's just to search his reserve deck and know what's in there, all 3 cards, so he has perfect information. We know he has Chewie in hand, Chewbacca V, who would be power 8 at the Cantina. But again, with 2 force for you are beaten, that concerns you. If there's no you are beaten, attacking into that 7th Sister looks real friendly. Now, one way you could go with that is you could say, I'm going to attack into her anyway with 3 guys, and if one of them gets beaten, then that means that character is going to be sitting there blocking a drain. All right, he's got Val. All right, and having just looked at his reserve deck, he'll know if he has Destinies in place or not. Let's see. The other thing he could do here, yep, there's Chewie. Yeah, he's only got 4 left, so you wouldn't want to run your force pile out by putting a 4th guy. So he's either calling his bluff, or maybe he plays Weapon Levitation, which cancels you are beaten, so it's possible he does have a card to cancel it. Yeah, so we'll just see. So going to clear the site seems good. And his other option would have been actually just to play all 3 of those guys to Hoth or Malachor. Which I don't really hate in this case, because there's not a lot Chris Kelly could have done, but if he has another Mara in hand, he still might be able to bust that up. But it's kind of hard. Like, if they have that many smugglers and they're all big forfeit, and the 5th brother's on table, he's the forfeit he prevents the forfeit being increased. So Joe could have done that, but if he can clear him off the Cantina, that's probably a better situation. I don't know. It's an interesting call. You stack the guys up. Dodge obviously doesn't let you run away. You can't just put 1 guy, so you're kind of character committed, and Watch Your Step doesn't necessarily have a ton of characters. So he made his decision what card he's pulling out of the use pile. He's got 4 force. Oh, so he's just going to go 3 with talent. All right. So he's not even going to battle here. Oh, Rio Durant! Snap! We got a V13. Yes. Once per turn, if you just deploy a smuggler here, may place a card from hand and use pile to activate 2 force. So now he does have the force to go ahead and fight. And that's big. So he's at 18 because his aliens at the canteen are all power +1. So he battles, he retrieves, he pays for it, retrieves Luke. Chris Kelly has to lose 1. So we'll see. Chris Kelly could have, at this point, the Sniper Dark Strike to clear out. Like, you can't do the You Are Beaten Dark Strike and have him draw nothing anymore. Now, there's only 1 force in Joe's reserve, so he'll go ahead and just grab a card with evac. Yeah, he needs guys now, so he'll take Dash Rendar, because now he has Dash Rendar and the Outrider in hand. So he can do that if he can maintain a ground presence. Yeah, so he's up 14, and with the +2 to Battle Destiny. Oh, there's no Hatred card, actually, so it's +1 Battle Destiny where there's an Inquisitor. So he's up 13. He won't be able to shoot, unfortunately, with Val. Though I think if he knew he had a 5, actually, you'd think about it. Make him burn a force field, or because clearing 7 forfeit would be better than 5. Like a 5 Battle Destiny if you had a 5. Alright, so Chewie's going to get swung at. Now Val right there can actually forfeit in place of Chewie. So if Chewie doesn't get snipered or you are beaten, Val actually could keep him on the table, potentially. But if he was Dark Struck. Let's see. Yep, there goes. So there's the Dark Strike. Kind of expect that. Now, knowing that Joe only has one draw here, actually, you might see him go for You Are Beaten here to actually keep the Seventh Sister on the table, because she's effectively immune to less than 5 at the moment. No, she's not. No Jedi, no Padawan, no Probe Droid, no Hatred. Scratch that. So she's only immune to less than 4. Chewie's gone, so now it's 10-1 against 4-1. Alright, so he's just going to draw a card reserve. Yeah, so he's not going to You Are Beaten anybody. But that also means that nobody can be You Are Beaten to block Drain's next turn. So somebody's going to have to live. Not likely to be any overflow here. Joe's up by 5. She forfeits for 7. So Joe gets a 4. Atomic Celebration, but that's all he can draw because he only has the 1 destiny. Seventh Sister draws a 6. Ooh! That's a 6 with the +1. That's a 7. I mean, all the smugglers are forfeit a billion right now. Forfeit 8 because of a Talon card. Alright, so Light Side still wins. And Seventh Sister has to be lost. Joe tries to Reodorant steal, but there's no starfighter for him to steal, so that's not going to happen. Alright, and then Joe loses. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Chris had asked if he could revert for a second, and then he's like, oh, wait, she's not immune. Came to the same conclusion we had. There was no Padawan, Probe Droid, Jedi, or Hatred card, and so she wasn't reducing by 1. Because, yeah, if he could have just peeled 3 to keep her on table, he absolutely would have, but he couldn't. Alright, so Life Force count. Alright, so it's quite a bit closer now. So Chris Kelly with 21 in Life Force, 7 in hand, is at 28, and Joe's at 19 in life with 5 in hand. Yeah, we see Vader pay to drain here. That likely gets it's a hitted. He drains for 3, adds 1. Well, I assume he'll add 1. Technically, he doesn't have to, but seems like the right play. No good reason not to. Okay, Joe has to lose 2, and Joe is going to lose 2. All right, so he just loses Luke and loses Lomi off the deck. So yeah, Chris, he absolutely wants to clear that site. So all right, here's the Grand Inquisitor. He's going to stack a Hatred card for sure. Probably on. I'm not sure which one you go with. Maybe with Talon? Probably with Talon to try and clear, because he's got the forfeit bonus. Yeah. You're not so worried about them shooting Inquisitor. You just want them off the side so Joe doesn't drain free. If Joe gets to start draining free, that's really bad. Alright, so he's got the Inquisitor. He'll stack 1. There are no Jedi for extra pings, but at least he gets to ping from first strike. It depends on what 6 cards Chris Kelly has in hand. Alright, so he's got Mink now. That's good. Extra forfeit fodder, extra power. He'll go ahead and play another defensive shield. So there's the do the code clearance in case Joe wants to Jedi Love or on the edge or anything like that. Alright, he's got 3 force left. So, yep, he's going to go in battle. He'll retrieve one with first strike. Joe will lose one. And like that's a helpful card. Is like, when first strike is on the table, it really incentivizes battling regularly. You don't want to let somebody be the only one taking advantage of first strike if you can at all avoid it. All right, so Joe loses Captain Lando Calrissian from reserve deck. All right, he's kind of sad about that. If he's not playing an interrupt here, he might think about using Walkling to get Lando back. You really would like to have Lando in this scenario. Because Lando is amazing when you completed a Kessel run, because once per game, you can take him in the hand at any time. At literally any time. So as long as he's not at Vader's sight, you can put him anywhere, and they can deploy guys, and then you can just take him back. There's nothing you can do about it. All right, Val fires at Ming Canal, draws the Outrider. So Mirax must put that back since we saw that flash earlier. So that's a miss. So nothing doing there, Joe. All right, so at the moment it's 2 Destiny, 2 Destiny, and Joe's got to decide, yep, he's going to go for the evac because he wants to keep somebody on table. So let's see. Joe did not lose a force to keep talent cards game text. So if Chris can draw a 5, he will have the requisite 7 attrition. Oh, but he drew a Sniper Dark Strike, so he did not draw a 5. Yeah, 7 attrition would have done it. 5 will not. Joe draws a 4. So Joe will be able to keep someone on table. Let's see. So yeah, Min will die. He's the obvious loss there. I'm not sure which of these 2 you keep. He goes ahead and loses Val. Oh, and now he's changing his tune. Joe asks for a revert. He'd rather lose Talon, and Chris says, of course. Yeah, and that's one of the things about just like being on Gemp. There's 2 things. One is if it's something where in real life you'd be able to fix it. You're just like, oh, actually that guy. Like you absolutely want to do that. And also just there's so many just obvious misclicks, like where something just you're going for the wrong guy, or it just you don't quite get where you were going. Like stuff just happens, or there was a prompt you didn't expect. That really, in general, you see just a whole lot of sportsmanship in place. And I think that's really, really important. It'd be very difficult to do a large event like this with the relative high stakes, as high stakes as can be for a card game. If there was no sport, it was really cutthroat. It's so much easier to screw things up when you can misclick and do something you didn't mean to do than when you're real life and you're sitting there across the table. And it's much harder to put the wrong guy in the lost pile by accident. All right. So, yeah, Joe decides to keep Val because Val has a gun, is the thing. And then Talon does not have a gun. And so Joe's got a couple of guys in hand. He potentially could actually do some damage through that Inquisitor. Because you have no idea if Chris has a Gick in hand or not. All right, but that one character is enough. So that was not great for Chris. We still haven't seen it's a hit. So, I mean, maybe there isn't one in Joe's deck. So you can do some drain damage. But Chris is just choked with the 13. It's just hard for him to be able to get forced to do stuff. He'd really like to get Vader flipped with those other 2 characters, because Vader would be draining 2. Well, I guess that's a drain 1 either way. So it doesn't make a huge difference as long as Ultimatum's in effect. Let's see. So Joe, he can activate everything. But you have to think he's going to battle back into that Grand Inquisitor. There's not a lot of tricks that Chris could really have here, and the most would be a random, like a Lone Warrior or something to add Destiny randomly. There's no Run Vader Run. And he's got no force. So Joe's definitely going to battle in. All he has to do is put down anyone, and he'd be able to battle in. But he'd like to get 2. You want to have 2 guys, so you can lose 1 and keep 2. And then you start to feel pretty solid about that Cantina. Joe is out of evacs, but there aren't that many far more frightening than deaths left anyway, so that's probably okay. So yeah, this would be the forestalled stabilization. Chris's goal is to keep Joe from stabilizing. At this point, Joe is kind of stabilized. He's got 2 in reserve. Let's see, it's the Outrider on the bottom because that was the Val Destiny, and then above that is the, was it Celebration or Wedge? Whatever it was 4 that he drew for Battle Destiny. Let's see, oh, there goes You Are Beaten from reserve. All right, so Force Train for 2 at Kessel, and then You Are Beaten is lost to Kira, then goes Grand Inquisitor and Palpatine from reserve deck. Not great for Chris, seeing those Destinies lost. Also tells you if he'd had 2 more activation, he could have activated down to that Emperor and drawn that Destiny that he needed. But he just couldn't get there. All right, and since Joe's draining free, he also gets to drain for 1 at Tatooine. All right, which at this point means Chris has 22 hand in life, and Joe, until he deployed Dash Rendar, also had 22 hand in life, so they'd finally tied. So there goes Wedge, there goes Dash. If he had a 4th, he'd probably bring it, but he doesn't. Looks like, oh, no, he's got Luke. Oh, and he's going to throw him to another site. All right, so that's huge as well, because that's going to be tough for Chris to deal with. So Joe goes through with his battle. He's not going to shoot because he can miss, but it doesn't matter. He gets 2 Destinies, so he'll draw 4 and a 2. So he'll be at 9, plus he'll be at 15 against the Inquisitor's draw. So he's not doing any overflow, but he'll clear, and he'll just lose. I think he loses Wedge. Probably lose Wedge. Oh, You Are Beaten from hand is what Chris loses to first strike, which means he was playing 2 You Are Beatens, which is pretty good. You Are Beaten is such a good card right now. Oh, did I miss my maths? Was there another card under that use pile? Fascinating. Oh, 2-3. All right, 2-3, 2-4. Off by 1. Total of 5. So he's got 14. Yeah, again, no overflow, but overflow isn't what he needs here. He's just going to lose 1 guy. Clear the site. Had 2 smugglers there. Your Beatens are gone. Sabers are gone. Sniper Dark Strike is gone. If Chris hasn't been able to draw many cards, so if he had another Mara, we probably would have seen her by now. So he's probably still got like an Inquisitor he can attack with, but that's probably about it. And especially with Joe putting Luke now over on Malachor, that just really puts pressure on what Vader can do, because he can get there, but it takes him 2 turns, and he wouldn't really do much overflow. Yeah, this is a rough spot for Chris here. So if he does randomly have 2 guys, he might actually decline to drain here, but most likely he probably just has to try and get the damage through. But at the same time, that would be kind of like a Pyrrhic victory of like you drain, they lose 2, but now what do you do with it? Because Joe's in a position to drain free and to do a lot more damage, and by paying 3, you're basically just going, I'm fine for the 3/4s to accept some piece of the board state that I can't change. So he drains for 3. There's an Outrider, another Control Tunnel, and Joe still has multiple. Let's see, Control Tunnel in the lost pile. I think he has 2 in the lost pile. So at some point he can start just busting those out to cancel drains. So all right, Chris checks his reserve deck by going for a location pull just to see what his destinies are. So he's got at least 1 guy, probably not 2. We could see an Emperor Shuttle Emperor somebody here, possibly, if he's going just I've gotta do something. But you don't really want to battle into Mirax with that. That's not ideal. All right, so yeah, so he's gonna go after Luke. He'll stack a Hatred card, which Joe would lose 1 to prevent, and then with the first strike battle, that still means Joe's eating a couple pings, and depending on the draws, might have to peel a couple battle damage. So that's a good play from Chris here. But whenever he does try and stack a hatred card, you can assume that Joe's probably gonna pay for it. Now, what would be interesting here is if Chris stacks a hatred card and Joe loses one, and then Chris actually has another guy, he can get him to eat the extra ping. But at that point, you kind of locked in two guys. You're really hoping Luke dies, and then one of them stays on the table, so at least it's an extra drain, potentially. But yeah, Chris is just getting to the point of the game where there's not many. You're not going to be able to deploy many more guys because you know that you're going to lose at least 4 cards on the next swing, like on the next cycle from Joe, and so you're just going to run out of the ability to do stuff. That's the worst part about paying to drain. It's just late game. You go, I can either do damage, or I can react to your board state, but I can't do both effectively. All right, so Joe does not lose one. So he'd rather keep the life force. He's okay if Luke died, because all Luke is really doing for him is making Chris lose one of the Visage. He doesn't really need that. So yeah, so I think he's okay losing him. Yeah, and unless he draws a 5, Seven Sister will actually be immune. So Chris retrieves, you are beaten. Joe loses a Melas. He's at 12 life force with 3 in hand. Chris is at 21 life force, hand in life. Even if he has a far more frightening than death, I don't think he plays it here. It'd effectively just be a lost interrupt. At that point, you'd just really be hoping that you somehow like massively outdraw them. Like if you drew like a 5 and 6 with a total plus 2, it'd be 11, 15, 16, 17. So Joe would have to draw 5 to not eat any overflow. So I guess he could have gone for it. But if you draw 5-2, then you're like, wow, I wasted that card. All right, and Joe draws a 5, so Joe knows where a 5 is now. Yeah, so he has to lose one. Yeah, and this is the way that worked out. I don't think Joe knew that was a 5. He may have, but if he knew it was a 5, he probably would have lost the 1. But maybe he loses the 1, and then Chris does have the far more frightening than death. Like it's just such a hard call, and doing the guaranteed keep your life force kind of makes sense in the situation. All right, so he's going to walkling back Luke, and with Mirax, that means he can get Luke. He knows exactly where Luke is, so he can bring back Luke again. Might actually see him go ahead and put Luke in the Cantina, because you don't really want to leave that avenue open for the first strike. Or I guess you put Luke at the Docubay in this case. Yeah, you don't want to leave the first strike repeated open, because that's effectively a good, a solid drain. All right. Ooh, block. Nice. Okay, so what this does is Luke says he can't deploy to a side opponent occupies. So Luke cannot go to Tatooine right now. And there was a You Are Beaten retrieved. There's possibility that Chris could get that back. All right, so Joe's got 3 in hand, 13 life. So he's down by 5, but he'll be down by 1 after he hits for 4 damage here. Vader still can only drain 2 even in the Cantina. The other 2 drains are drains of 1, which Joe's fine with. Fighting Vader would make almost no sense. Let's see. I'm going to retract that. Actually, it could make some sense. Because there's no You Are Beaten. If you don't put Chris on another Sniper Dark Strike, what you could do right here is actually just play a 3rd Smuggler. It doesn't matter if they're battling with empty game text. There would be 3 of them drawing 2 destinies. So all you have to do is crack a 6. And so Joe's thinking right now, he's got Luke on top of his reserve deck. He's trying to figure out if he wants to Mirax for him. And 3 Force, like, unless he knows that's a 6, Val's not going to shoot Darth Vader. Let's see. So he drains 2 at Kessel plus the 1 from Kira. So that's a 5th brother off the reserve, overseeing a personally off the reserve, and then accelerate off the reserve. He'll drain 1 at Tatooine. That's another damage. Oh, there goes a Sniper Dark Strike off the reserve. So he's happy to see that gone. So yeah, if you go, I don't care if Vader cancels somebody. If I have 3 smugglers, even if he dark strikes one, I still get to keep somebody alive. And I'm going to draw 2 destinies, so I'm going to put Vader in the lost pile. And then at that point, he's probably just planning to dodge away for evasion. We already saw a Lana combo lost. Dodge from hand. There could be another Lana combo, or he could be having a Gick combo in hand. So I don't know that I would bank on just dodge. Does have the Hujix, wants to make sure he stays in the battleground site. So Joe has some options here. And just trying to figure out, really, it's just how to mitigate risk is the biggest thing. And there's just not a lot. You don't want to do something that causes you to lose the game that you didn't have to lose. And so here, he has the advantage board state. As long as Joe stays on a battleground site, he is in an advantage position. Because he's doing 4 damage for free, whereas Chris Kelly does 1 damage for free with Visage, and the rest he has to pay for, and it can be canceled. Alright, so he Miraxes, he takes the Luke into hand. Ooh, Obi, that's exciting. So now he has 1 card, he has Luke and a blank card in hand, which means if he doesn't battle here, which would surprise me, he could actually Obi swap back the Saber for Luke. He's really dangerous, but you probably don't want to Obi swap at this point in the game, unless there's something that would absolutely just seal the deal for you. So he goes ahead and battles. He does the first strike damage. He's got 2 smugglers. We know the bottom card of reserve deck's a 5. It's the all wings combo you drew for Destiny previously. Oh, and there's a Gick from hand from Chris. It's kind of ironic because he actually might wish he had that in a minute. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. But he doesn't have a lot of good options. It means he thinks the other cards in hand are more likely to prove useful, and he's not worried about the possibility of losing this battle by too much. He very well may know he has like 5 or 6 on top for Destiny anyways. So let's see. He can cancel Val's game text. Doesn't do it. Which at this point doesn't really matter. I mean, Joe's not going to shoot, so does not really anything. Ditto for Wedge. So what's Chris's play here? By hitting somebody, he does a ping damage for I'm Your Father, which is good. We haven't seen a lot of Vaders floating. He probably has another Vader in his hand. I mean, as Chris, your objective is really, can I get him off the table on the next turn so he's not paying, so he's not draining for free? Let's see, we already saw a blaster deflection, but he knows that he could have a dodge. If he swings at Obi, oh, he's going to go for Obi. So that was Vader. So, yeah, Emperor Force actually, that was canceling Val's game text, not swinging. So, yeah, so he goes for it. That's interesting. That's what I would just... That's why I thought he was going to swing at Val's, because you guarantee the hit. Like, with the Obi and the dodge, you're not hitting that. It would take 7 and a 6, or better. 8 and a 6, you know, something like that. But yeah, a 2 and a 0, that's not going to get the job done. May have just hoped he wouldn't do it. May have just been trying to burn the Force. Because that could matter. Because now Joe has no Force to respond with a dodge or anything on the next turn. So whatever's there, he can battle into with what he's got in his hand, and he knows he can't get away. So if Chris were to have actually another Dark Strike or somehow retrieve You Are Beaten's around, I think they're both in lost pile at this point, but if able to somehow get one back, like, it's possible. And he can come up with something crazy here. Yeah, so he'll lose Vader and 1. So losing Gick earlier didn't cost him any extra Force. I assume that Joe will just lose Wedge here? Hard to say. Val's forfeit 6. Wedge is forfeit 8, which is huge. So if he can keep his forfeit, he's a really good shield for Obi. Okay, so yeah, he goes ahead and loses Val. The gun hasn't been doing much good for him. It's probably nothing he needs to shoot anyway. He's going to lose that fire off the top to the Visage. So it's not like he's going to have it sitting there parked around waiting to shoot an Inquisitor in the face. All right. So they're currently tied. Chris will be up 1 after Joe loses to the Visage. But all Chris can do really is you want to battle first strike. I mean, if you just like paid 6 to drain 2 here, you lose. There's nothing left. You might as well concede at that point, because what are you going to do with them with the remaining 7? There's basically nothing useful you can do. Because you could, let's see, you could leave 1. You could, no, you want to have 2. So we'll see. I assume we'll see something like an Inquisitor battle into OB, far more frightening than death. Unfortunately, accelerate and you are beaten or not. Let's see. No, they would get the job done. That's 2. That's 8 with total, with the +1 or the +2. That would actually clear both those guys off with a hatred card. 2 would get it done. So he knows. So with that 8, yeah, Chris Kelly lost Lana Dobry from hand, so there was that other react canceler I was talking about as far as dodge goes. So he'd been holding on to the other one, went ahead and lost it. Joe loses all wings to the Visage. So here goes Chris. He's going to save 3. Yep, so we've got the fight. So that's going to be a Vader. He can swing at Wedge, hit Wedge, and then draw 5. And that would put them both in the lost pile. So even without the Sniper Dark Strike, he can clear them both off. And Joe's only drawing 1, so potentially even Vader lives here, because it'll be 8 to 6. Yeah. Yeah, so Chris will lose a force off used pile probably. Gets the saber back. He battles, he retrieves the first strike. Joe loses 1. He'll stack a hatred card on Obi here, because why not? Oh, wait, no, it's not an Inquisitor. Can't do that. Sorry. He can't. Why not? Why not? Because Phil doesn't know the cards. That's why. Yeah, you have to have an Inquisitor, not a Vader. Seems ironic that Vader doesn't count as an Inquisitor, you know. I digress. Yeah, so Chris will battle here. First strike, that's a net +2. So it's +1 for him, -1 for Joe. And then if he hits Wedge, that's also another force loss that Joe has to eat. And yeah, then he'll hit Wedge, he'll draw the 5. Obi-Wan dies as well. And yeah, if Joe makes Chris peel for each card above 4 that he can draw. Now, knowing that Joe has Luke in hand, assuming this battle goes well and Joe doesn't draw a 6, he probably flips the position of Aura and Vader, because they can both drain 2 through Ultimatum. But you have to think through the math here. He's going to be at 14 to Joe's 13. Yep, there's You Are Beaten. It's Wedge. He doesn't even need the Sniper Dark Strike to pull this off. Alright, he loses the force. Ooh, a 5 off the reserve. But a 5 is not a 6, and he would have needed a 6 anyways. So, yeah, but he's not with Booster or Mirax. He's not adding the Battle Listening. So that's a spite cancel, is what we call that. There's nothing that Wedge's game text is actually contributing at this point, but you might as well cancel it anyway, you know. Just because you're Vader and you can do that. All right, so Vader draws a 5, and here we'll see If Joe pops in, I'll take the leader. Chris is sad. Oh, but it's just a barrier. Yeah, so Chris will lose 1 force to the battle damage. Clearly to keep Vader on table. He'll lose that accelerate. So it's back means he's not losing the Visage anymore. So Joe is at 10 now. So Joe will drain at Kessel for sure, but he can't drain at both and play Luke. And Luke's what it's got to be at this point. And so let's math this out. So Chris is in position. After he loses 3, he still could pay 9 to drain 5 if he switches their position. Oh, he's just going to draw. All right, that's interesting. Draining 3-1-1 is good, but if Luke comes down, now that's just 2-1 instead of 2-2-1. And if he has it's a hit or he saves force to control tunnel from lost, then Chris is doing very little. All right, so Joe will activate it all unless he wants to mirror activate something along the way. But he probably just activates it all, pays 3 to drain at Kessel, does 3 damage, and then puts Luke down to the Malachor site. All right, so he just picked up something he was happy about. I was going to be tracking to know exactly what that is. Anyone else hearing an echo with Phil? I'm not hearing an echo with me, but I'm not hearing myself. Let's see. All right, so there's the drain. Drain from Joe, 5 left. Emperor Palpatine from hand. Chris loses. Grand Moff Tarkin from hand. It'd be really funny if the shuttle was the last card here. All right, Annie, you are beaten from reserve deck. Let's see, especially the Visage, just draining it out isn't great, but he just has to save a couple of force for the control tunnel. I feel like Allegations grabs first, but I don't remember for sure between that and a useless gesture. I would have to check the ruling on that, but I think Allegations is going to grab first on a control tunnel from Lost, which means Joe would have to save 2 instead of 3. It does not double stack on both. He doesn't have to pay for both to do that, but you'll certainly see either that or it's a hit to cancel Vader's next drain, unless it's 5 force to play Luke. And this is kind of an interesting call because Chris has 1 card in hand. He did just voluntarily lose a Tarkin. Like losing Emperor doesn't tell you anything. Losing Tarkin tells you something because the obvious play has to be Luke, and Tarkin at least can battle in, do first strike damage for a couple, and possibly even win the battle depending on what Joe draws. Like it at least lets you do something to do an extra point of damage. So you lost him, means he's probably got a Inquisitor who can do hatred cards and pings, and so it could potentially be a couple, like playing Luke could be a net negative. So Joe just draws 2, and so what Joe's probably doing the math here is he can cancel the drain from Lost when Vader drains, and then he would eat 2 total loss to the other 2 drains if Chris spends it all. Then he gets to drain back. All right, so perimeter scan, just playing defense shield, or not. Most absolutely useless shield in the game at this point, since his game text isn't going to do anything unless he plays something that can be altered. So yeah, so Chris Kelly goes for the drain of 3, and yeah, Joe's like, I'm just going to cancel that thing now. Doesn't even wait for that. Well, yeah, here's the thing. If Joe passed on the response, Chris Kelly actually could decline to add with Vader and get it through. So yeah, he control tunnels immediately. Chris pays 3, drain 1. Joe loses dodge off used pile. And then Chris Kelly can pay 3 to drain 1 again if he wants. Or he flips Vader and Ara's position. Yeah, you're down to just the final math phase. I believe Joe has another control tunnel, so he just has to save 3 if he just wants to cancel that. Yep, so Chris figured that out. He's going to go ahead and flip them, which means he could drain 2 and 2. So even if one gets canceled, he can still poke through 2 damage next turn. Let's see, Visage does nothing because he's flipped. All right, Joe with 8. Joe will pay 3. That'll do 3 damage. Dang, a Blaster Carbine from hand. That's fun. Drains 2 at Kessel. So now he loses the 2. Oh, there we go. And if Joe has it's a hit in hand, he probably actually just pays to drain with Mirax. Puts Chris down to exactly 6. All right. Yeah, our observers weren't allowed to see the that brief interlude of the game here, so we may have to replay the game. It's a mild political joke for you all. All right, let's wait for this refresh here. I can see exactly as much as you can, which is not much. We'll go for reload. Try this again. I see in the chat that, oh, nope, it's back. Wait, what the what? Yep, this is right. All right, so I see they both rejoined the room. So he lost the 7th Sister off reserve, and now he's got one more. And so Joe can just pay 3 here to make Chris Kelly lose another card and go down to 6, and then all Chris can do is 4 damage. Then Joe gets to drain him down to, let's see, I'll lose him to the Visage, so Joe would be at 5. So, okay, yep, there we go. So Joe's going to do that. He brings down Luke, and Chris almost certainly can't kill him at this point. So that's probably going to do it. I mean, he could activate 5, save 1. Oh, also it means there's like a ping Visage damage hitting. Yeah, so Chris could activate 5, the Inquisitor for 4, Hatred card, make Joe peel 1, battle, first strike, peel 1. But he's still not going to lose Luke. Oh, there we go. And we get the concession from Chris Kelly. All right, Chris is conceded. Crazy close game. Yeah. Well, that was fun. Hopefully I didn't bore you all, and hopefully I did the recording correctly. I'm not sure exactly how to save this once I stop recording, so I might need to figure that out. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here and eat some breakfast. I think I will be back for game 2 most likely, and that probably will be it for me for today. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you had fun watching. Bye.